Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the first day of Summerween. As you can see, I have my very first Summerween merch. I will link Gabby's information. I don't know if it's still available on her bonfire, but in case you are interested, I was definitely interested in getting this edition of Summerween because I'm a big tie-dye fan and I really do love like the desert look that we have going on here. And I love wearing this pink hat with tie-dye. I have another tie-dye shirt, my Sailor Moon one, that I like to wear this hat with, so I feel like it just already goes with the aesthetic. So, very excited, very excited. But today is officially the first day of Summerween. Yes, I'm filming my Summerween TBR on the first day of Summerween because yes. But I do have my TBR already prepared. We're going to go through that. I also still have to set up my reading journal. I haven't done my June recap or my July TBR in my reading journal. So that'll probably be in like my first Summerween vlog that I do. I think I'm going to do two. I think that's what I did last Summerween as well, if I can remember correctly. All I remember about last Summerween, realistically, is there was a hurricane going on here in Houston. Um, and I read Fantastic Land during a hurricane, which is kind of funny because it's about the aftermath of a hurricane. And then I read In the God and the Gumio. Those are the two things I remember from last Summerween. But I guess I should say, if you don't know what Summerween is, which you probably do if you clicked on this, but if you don't, I'll go ahead and link Gabby's info down below, including the Instagram. And I guess there was a Summerween video explanation that I missed, or maybe I watched and forgot about, but I did see from Allie Do His Read. So Allie had posted it in her description, so I'll make sure to include that as well, and I'll also include her video since I mentioned her. And we have one book in common, at least. So that's exciting. Anywho, I was like pulling these out. In case you didn't see, in my last vlog, I have a little like Kodak printer. And so I've been printing out things for my reading journals. And so I did print out a little version. You could, if we So I printed out little versions from the Instagram to put into my reading journal just to make it extra cute. I also have the Instagram prompts, which I do need to do the first one after this video, which is post a reel. Oh, no, that's tomorrow's. I don't really do short form, so it always makes me sad to see reels. But it's a post your TBR on your Instagram. So I do need to do that after this video. But I am rambling already. Who's surprised? So let's get into the TBR prompts. I'm also going to pull up the Instagram because I do think there's a bingo as well, which I want to participate in. So let me pull up the Summerween Instagram just so we are all on the same page. Also, I can't see if you can tell in this video, but I think this is so fun. The pen I'm using, I think my mom got these for me as like a set for Christmas, but it has a crown on it. Just feel like it goes, pumpkin's gonna jump where the camera is, so I'm sorry you're gonna get shaked. Shooken? Shaken? You're gonna get shaken? You're gonna get shook? Why is English so hard? Okay, anyway, so let's get into the TBR. I know there's a bingo on here. I know there is one. Isn't there? Oh, hello, pumpkin. You want to say hi? Oh, oh, careful. Just don't knock the people over. All right, you gonna sit down? That's good. You just be part of the camera setup. situation. Okay, so there is a bingo. Once I find it, I will post it here. And like I said, I'll link the Instagram down below so you can get all the information that you need for Summerween on the Instagram, even if you don't watch the video. I like to use both because I can reference back to the Instagram when I need to. But let's start with our prompts. Oh, hello, pumpkin. I need this chair right now. Can I share it with you later? Okay. Our first prompt is to read a book in the dark or at night, which this prompt I think is always on Summerween and it's very much, and Winterween. It's very much an easy prompt for me because I primarily read at night and in the dark because I'll read before bed. And sometimes my partner goes to sleep before I do while I'm reading. So I have like a headlamp nightlight that I use to read. So I do that all the time. And I'm basically using this prompt, and this is what I typically do, is I use this prompt for a book that may not fit into a lot of the other prompts, but I'm just like really wanting to read and need an excuse to add it to the TBR. So I think it's a good one for that. If you're looking, there's a book that's like sitting on your shelf that you really, really want to read and it doesn't necessarily fit all the prompts, I suggest using that one. It's not going to make you scared if it's not a scary book, but that's okay. It's a good one for this particular instance. And I think I've already talked about this in 2 of my vlogs briefly, but I am picking up the second book in the Fates of Thread series by Sophie Kim. And this is The God in the Gwynson. It follows the 2 characters that we met in The God in the Gumio loosely. It's tough because this is a sequel, so I don't want to talk too much about the plot of this book since there is a big reveal, I guess, if you know the plot of this book. So if you haven't read the first one, you definitely need to read the first one. This is not a companion novel. This is a follow-up on our 2 characters from The God in the Gumio. I wanted to read this one for Summerween because I read The God in the Gumio during Summerween last year, and so since this one came out this summer, I thought it would be appropriate to continue the series during Summerween. So I'm very excited. I think I gave The God in the Gumio like 3.5. I would pitch it as if you are someone who enjoys K-dramas, I do think it's got like a mythical K drama vibe. We follow a god who not has fallen, but like has fallen out of favor, and he's been a detective for a long time, and he's really trying to like regain his status. And then our other character is a Gumio, which is like a Gumio is like a what's it, a kitsune in Japanese, so like a fox person, so they can turn into fox. They generally feed off the souls of their lovers, and so she is like the most prolific Gumio that there is and has been in hiding for a long time, and they end up becoming partners to solve these murders that are going on. That's the first book, and so like I said, it does follow those 2 characters in this book, but I'm not going to tell you anything more about that because you need to read The God in the Gumio first before this one. So this is going to fulfill my prompt of reading at night. I thought perhaps there was a sky on this, but I don't think it's a sky. I think reading the back of it, it's supposed to be an ocean. But, you know, kind of looks like a sky too. But this is for my first prompt for reading at night or in the dark. The next book, I didn't organize these by prompts. I organized them by size, and now I have to go through them. Okay, so I do have 6 books because I have 2 books that I'm using for this prompt. Because depending on how I feel about them, or since we do have an extra day on Summerween, who knows, maybe I'll be able to read both of them. But this prompt is to read a horror or thriller book, and I have picked up 2, as I said. So I picked up My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. This would be my first Stephen Graham Jones, and I've been interested in this one since Katie from Katie Marie Reads talked about it. I believe it was like one of her favorite books, or is one of her favorite books, period, from not just Stephen Graham Jones, but just like a favorite book in general. And it is about a girl who's obsessed with slashers. And then she starts to suspect that there's a slasher in her town and it wants to use her quote unquote training to survive the slasher, be the final girl. It sounds really fun to me. I do love a good slasher, so I'm thinking I will enjoy this one. I would think I put this more on the thriller side than the horror side, but again, this is my first Stephen Graham Jones, and I know a lot of people really like him, so I'm excited to read it. So that is the book that I initially picked for this prompt, and I got off Pango. However, for another book that I was getting for Summerween, I was like looking in the shop, had a deal, and I happened to see When the Wolf Comes Home by Nate Cassidy. And I know that Gabby said that she really loved this. I think Kayla said that she really loved this as well. But I know that this is a pretty popular book that's come out. It does sound like thriller horror, like kind of a mix. Suspense. How do we use suspense in genres and books? Is there a suspense in genres and books? But the little tagline by Grady Hendrix says, this is kind of great big epic. This is the kind of great big epic horror novel we got back in the 80s. But essentially, the plot of this book is there's this woman and she finds like a young boy. And when she finds him, his dad comes after them, and his dad seems like a complete and total monster and they have to go on the run to get away from the dad. So I don't know if the wolf is a I mean, I'm assuming the wolf is a metaphor, but whether or not that metaphor will physically manifest in this book and give us a little bit more paranormal, I'm not sure, but I'm excited to read this one as well. So both of these are under that horror thriller just in case I don't make it to both of them, so I will be able to fulfill the prompts. But I felt like this was a perfect one to add to my Summerween TBR, like I said, because we do have 8 days. So I'm hoping I can still get to this one, even though this is like backup on the horror thrillers. Plus the graphic that Gabby provides for Summerween has 6 slots. So, we must complete. Must complete the graphic, of course. The next prompt. The next prompt is to read a book with a sky on the cover, and I'm very excited about this book. So this book I picked up on I've hit this like multiple times. So this book I picked up on a whim, and I picked it up primarily because of the cover, but then I was also interested because of the author. And the author, this is not like a typical book that I've seen from this author. So then I was even more curious. So I think like I definitely talked about this book before because I had a book haul. I'm like holding this off like there's some dramatic drum roll that's coming. But so a book with this guy on the cover, I chose Direct Descendant by Tanya Huff. I want to show you this first because like look at this color. Is that not stunning? I think it's stunning. I don't know. I really love this color combo. But as I mentioned, I was surprised because Tanya Huff usually writes in the fantasy, paranormal kind of situation. And so I was surprised to see her in the horror genre. So, from what I remember of reading the back of this book takes place in a town where they basically serve eldritch horrors. And our main character, I guess I should just look her up. Cassidy. So Cassidy is the town baker and part-time servant of the Dark Force, quote unquote family business, and has to contend with the rising army of darkness, a very frustrated town, and a very cute PI who she might be falling for. Yes, so like people go missing, right, because they are protecting themselves from these eldritch horrors. And so they are trying their best to keep their town alive. And this PI comes because I think somebody goes missing and they're trying to look for them. And she's trying to contend with all this. It sounds cute, cozy horror, and there is a night sky. So it fits that prompt. And this has been sitting on my TBR since I bought it, and I've been looking for an excuse to read it. Not that I need an excuse to read it, but I was trying to like see if I could fit it into something like Summerween. So I'm very excited that there is a night sky on this, and I can in fact read it for Summerween. Ugh, we need to get through these. I need to eat. Okay. The next prompt is read a book you've owned for more than a year. And I have quite a few books on my shelf that I've owned for more than a year, but I really wanted to stick with horror thrillers outside of The God and the Grinson. I was just like, I really want to stay in theme here. And so with that, I do think I've owned this for a year. I'm pretty sure. I think so, because I bought it at Barnes and Noble, and the Barnes and Nobles was closed before Christmas. So, and I bought it at the one in Tampa. So yeah, I've had this for more than a year for sure. And anyway, so the book that I chose is Monstrilio by Dorado Samano Cordova. And I've been wanting to read this book for a hot minute. How are you in your box? So I've been wanting to read this for a hot minute. I know that Gabby herself really loves this book. I've seen so many people talk about this one. I think Katie from Katie Marie Reads, I think also Kayla from Books and Lala have all said how much they like this book. So it is I feel like it's horror, but like a surreal horror, like a lit fic horror in a way. So it's about a mother whose son passes away, and I think she keeps a piece of his lung and it grows into a monster. And so it's, focusing on grief, which I feel like is a pretty common theme in horror. So I am looking forward to reading this. And I am really, 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 really going to finish this book in Summerween. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And our final prompt to read a short story. Let me hold this up. To read a novella, manga, or listen to a spooky audiobook. So I have a novella that I'm going to read, and I also got some Pango. So as I mentioned, like this is the one where when the wolf comes home, I was like, oh, I could get both of these. This book is actually quite hard to find, surprisingly. Barnes & Noble has done a lot of revision of the books that they have in stock, and I had a really hard time finding this. But this is the second book. And what do they call? What does she call this series now? I know they like gave it a name, but this is the second book following What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, which I read for Winterween and was my first 5-star of the year. So this follows Alex, who is our main character in What Moves the Dead, which, if you don't know, is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. And personally, I think adds a lot to the original story. So if you haven't read it, I recommend reading it. I thoroughly enjoyed that. So I'm excited to pick up this one. We follow Alex as they go back to their hometown, and some strange things ensue. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this series goes, following like a new set of characters with Alex, and just, kind of getting out of this retelling. Pumpkin. I am a little sad that we're leaving some of the characters, it seems like, behind from the first one. But either way, I'm excited to read this book. I'm glad I was able to find it on Pango. But that is my TBR for Summerween. Like I said, it is officially the first day of Summerween. I don't know what book I want to start with. So that I will have to figure out. That is my Summerween TBR. I am so excited to be back on the Summerween train. I've been looking forward to this for like the last month and a half and have been trying to plan this out and acquire a good stack of books that really fit the theme and really get me in the mood. So very, very much looking forward to this. I'm so excited to be like part of like Camp Summerween because I feel like that's the vibe that this is giving. But if you are doing Summerween, I'd love to see your TBR, hear about your TBR. So please let me know down below. Or if you've read any of his books or if you're excited about any of them, let me know as well. And if you want to stick around for more Bookish Nerds content, feel free to subscribe. I upload every Fridays, but like I said, I'm going to be doing some additional vlogs for Summerween, so I probably will have 2 for Summerween, so stick around for that. And again, if you are doing anything for Summerween, please let me know below. And until next time, I hope you read a good book. I hope you find some joy, and most importantly, I hope you do something to make the world a better place. And happy Summerween! Bye!